Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Jayam Swa Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvajokacharya Asatarsa Sri Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Mathura Dham ki jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Yamuna Mai ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, the Science of Krishna, Canto 2, Chapter 10. Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. Text number 17. Pranena Akshapata Shut Drit Antaram Jayate Vibho Pipasata Jakshata Cha Prag Mukam Nirabidyata Pranenakshipatashitrit Antarajayate Vibaho Pipasato Jakshatascha Pranmakam Nirabidyata Pranenakshipatashitrit Antarajayate Vibaho Prapasato Jaktatascha Pranmakam Nirabidyata Pranenakshipatashitrid Antarajayate Vibaho Pipasato Jaktatascha Pranmakam Nirabidyata
Pranenakshipatashitrit Antarajayate Vibho Pipasato Jakshatascha Pranmukam Nirabidyata
Pranenakshipatakshtrid Antarajayate vibhoho Pipasato jakshatascha Pranmukam niravidyata
Pranena kshipata shutrid Antarajayate vibho Pipasato jakshatashchid sorry Pranmukam niravidyata
Pranena,
Anena,
by the living force. Akshipata, being agitated. Shat, hunger. Trit, thirst. Antara, from within. Jayate, generates. Vibho, of the Supreme. Pipasata, being desires to quench the thirst. Jakshata, being desires to eat. Cha, and. Prak, at first. Mukam, the mouth. Nirbidyata, was opened. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The living force, being agitated by the Virat Purusha, generated hunger and thirst, and when he desired to drink and eat, the mouth opened. Purport. The process by which all living beings in the womb of the mother develop their sense organs and sense perceptions appears to follow the same principles in the case of the Virat Purusha, the sum total of all living entities. Therefore, the supreme cause of all generation is not impersonal or without desire. The desires for all kinds of sense perception and sense organs exist in the Supreme, and thus they take place in the individual persons. This desire is the nature of the Supreme Living Being, the Absolute Truth, because He has the sum total of all mouths. The individual living entities have mouths. Similarly, with all other senses and sense organs. Here, the mouth is the symbolic representation of all sense organs, for the same principles apply to the others also. Translation again. Jai Shri Shri Gaur Nitai. The living force, being agitated by the Virat Purusha, generated hunger and thirst, and when he desired to drink and eat, the mouth opened. Donovan Maharaj, we'd like to hear your thoughts on Srimad Bhagavatam.
Here, the last sentence means the mouth is a symbolic representation of all sense organs, and the same principles apply. So, it means as the Virat Purusha develops the desire to taste, then the mouth becomes manifest. And when Virat Purusha develops a desire to smell, then the nose is developed. And feel, then the touch sensation. And then all the senses. So the Virat Purush means the sum total of all living entities is the Supreme Lord. He is actually everything, everyone is part of Him. The living entities they're not separate from Him. They're part and parcel. So as the parts are included in the whole, so living entities, this is part of the Lord's manifestation. This is called His Tatastha Shakti. The living entities are His separated material, separated parts. They have their freedom, they have their individuality, and to some extent they can act even apparently against the will of the Lord. Just like parents have their children, and they certainly are more powerful than the children, and they care for the children practically as much as they care for themselves. But the children are given they have a certain amount of free will and independence, so they can, if the father says, "Come here," the child says, "No." How can you say no? If he's part and parcel. He says no because he's given some individuality. So as we have that tendency, the Lord also, as the supreme parent, gives that ability to the living entities to act according to their desire. But ultimately, if the Lord wishes to impose His will on them, as in the case of death. Why does death happen? People say there's no God. But the fact that there's death means there must be God. Because somebody has decided, someone has decided that there's going to be death in the material world for everyone. Even Brahma. When Hiranyakashipu asked Brahma for the benediction of eternal life, Brahma said, "I don't even have that." He meant he didn't have it as in the body form. As long as he was in that body, he had to go through death. But if one gets out of the material body, one gives up the material body, then he gets the eternal, his real soul, his real personality is revealed. And then he can play in his transcendental form with the Lord as an equal. Of course, he's never equal, but the Lord gives him the opportunity, if he likes, if he warrants the opportunity. It's like in the Bhagavatam said that coward boyfriends of Krishna, they acted with him like equals. They sometimes they wrestled with him, or they even sat on his shoulders. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, they were joking with him just as equals. And that's because they have performed so many pious activities. Krita Punya Punja. They're so pious, they got that opportunity. So, one of the main points of the Bhagavatam is to explain to living entities how they fit in, what they're supposed to do, their duty. And by seeing how the Lord manifests in the material world, they can understand how they, as little portions, they also can act and produce children, offspring. It's not exactly the same, because the Lord is actually allowing everyone, as there is a living entity in this body. He is the knower of this body. But in the Lord is the knower in all bodies. He's the super soul. So in that sense, they're not the same. But in a sense that the the male provides the seed into the female, and then the female produces the body. It's amazing how it's all set up. These seeds for 8,400,000 different species are all perfectly designed, individually designed, and the reproductive process is so perfect that they don't work. One seed doesn't produce another type of species. And this is all planned out. It's not accidental. This idea that things are happening by chance, without any intelligence, is a very destructive thing, because this causes one to not have faith in God. He doesn't understand God, and he doesn't consider God important. It's like now our atheistic mood practically everywhere in the world is that there's really no need for God. Well, why do we need God? We can do things independently. And this causes havoc in society, because then all the good ideas that the Lord has for how to develop society and agriculture and architecture and all the nice things that we like to do become ruined. Everything falls apart because the Lord, He's not impersonal in the sense that if He's not wanted someplace, then He'll let them work without Him. He doesn't force Himself. So He gives them that opportunity to work without Him, to try to live without Him. But then the soul sees that life after life He's suffering. Then he's ready to come back to the Lord. There's many beautiful prayers how the living entity realized I've been not following your advice, not recognizing you for so many lifetimes. I've suffered so much. Now I want to come to your lotus feet and serve you. Please accept me. So this is very nice. This is the comeback of the fallen soul, has come back to his real place, his natural position. And this is a great victory. All the demigods, all the devotees in the spiritual world, they're all cheering that the souls are coming back. Krishna says it's the best service that one can perform is to try to educate people how to come back to Godhead. Back to home, back to Godhead. That's the magazine. The backbone of the Hare Krishna movement is how to bring everyone back to Godhead.
Donovan Morris, thank you very much for your perfect explanation of Srimad Bhagavatam. So nothing can exist in the material world which is not originally there in Krishna. And Srimad Bhagavatam is a perfect explanation of the source of everything, Jamadhyasa Yataha. And that source is Abhigya. He's cognizant of everything, and he's fully independent. In this material world, everybody is trying to be independent, but it's the futile attempt, because we're always dependent. Even for blinking our eyes, we're dependent on the mercy of some demigod. So no one is fully independent except Krishna. And Krishna has 8 transcendental qualities, which is mentioned in the prayers of the personified Vedas. It's in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna is never hungry, Krishna is never thirsty, Krishna is never subject to lamentation, Krishna is never contaminated by the modes of material nature. And even if Krishna does something which is seemingly impious, Krishna is never contaminated by any sinful reactions, because Krishna never does anything impious. It's our imperfect vision. It appears to be impious. So you do not agree with me, and I do not agree with you. Why? What is the reason? It's because each of us is an individual. Therefore, the Supreme, the Absolute Truth, Krishna, must be an individual. I'm a person, and my father was a person, and my grandfather was a person. His father was a person, and I have qualities which were inherited by my forefathers, and the Supreme Forefather is the Virat Purusha, and even before the Virat Purusha, there's Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So I am a reflection of Krishna. It is not that Krishna is a reflection of me. I have a mouth because Krishna has a mouth, and he has 2 hands and 2 legs, because man is made after the features of God. So in the material world, everyone's looking for an eternal love, but it's not to be had in this material world, because in this material world, there's only lust. Real love is in the spiritual world, and the perfect love is between Krishna and Radharani. Radharani is the greatest devotee. And each of us also has a dormant love of God. It just has to be awakened by the process of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. Just like in the match, the potency for fire is always there. But when you strike the match, the fire, the flame naturally comes out. So the dormant love of Krishna is there in the heart, not only you and I, but every living entity, even the plant, even the tree, even the ant. Everyone has a dormant love for Krishna. It simply has to be awakened. And the Sankirtan movement is meant for doing good, not for just the human society. Nowadays, there's the Great Welfare Organization, the United Nations, and they try to help human beings, but there's no program in the United Nations to stop the slaughter of the cows, or to stop the slaughter of innocent animals. So any material attempt for welfare work is imperfect. But Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are the greatest welfare workers, because they're distributing freely pure love of Krishna. So we are very much obliged to them for inaugurating this Yuga Dharma in this dark age of Kali, where everybody is suffering and everybody is fearful what will happen next. So this real love for Krishna exists eternally in Krishna Loka, where there's no envy, and there's no malice, and this love is ever increasing. It's not static. There are many popular songs about loving somebody forever, but this kind of attraction is temporary, because the so-called object of love is defective. But there are no defects in Krishna. So if we repose our dormant love in Krishna, then Krishna is the perfect repository of love, and Krishna is the perfect reciprocator of love. If you have a relationship with Krishna, Krishna will never disappoint you. And there are 5 kinds of relationships. Even if one is a flower or a clump of grass in Vrindavan, that living entity is completely happy and his bliss is ever increasing, and he's perfectly satisfied in his position of giving pleasure to Krishna and Krishna's devotees. Are there any comments or questions? Jagannath Prabhu.
I was just wondering, I put here, why are there new species of flowers and fruits as well as crossbreeds, such as ligers and mules? I think this was in relation to Maharaj's comment. I can't remember. He was talking a little bit about offspring, so I don't know if you remember, or because I can't, but should I repeat the question again?
Yeah.
Okay. Why are there new species of flowers and fruits, as well as crossbreeds such as ligers and mules?
Well, according to the Padma Purana, there are 8,400,000 species of life, and these species are not newly generating. Sometimes they're crossbreeds, but this is also one of the species. Like there's an animal called a mule, which is a crossbreed between a horse and a donkey. Donovan Maharaj, do you have more comments on this question?
That may be allowed. The Lord has made that arrangement. You can crossbreed them if you like, and they have their capacities. They can't reproduce, isn't that the idea? After they become a mule, they can't reproduce. So you get that. You can do it if you like. The Lord has allowed that as one of the species, a non-reproductive species. Or you could look at it, if you try to do something against the Lord's will, then it'll come out defective. It's like genetic engineering is becoming popular. We're going to see all kinds of defective species, or so-called species, because they won't know how to do it. They don't know the technology. So there'll be so many errors committed. It's like when we try to make a perfect judicial system without referring to the Lord's Manu Samhita or the Dharma Shastras, and we try to make up a judicial system. Then we come up with things like different kinds of punishments that are too severe and some that are not severe enough, because they don't take into account the important thing, namely that the soul lives on. He has another life after this life. So if you erroneously think that the living entity only lives one life, and therefore why should we give the life, take away the life for someone who kills others, because we're not taking into account that he's going to live again, and he'll continue to live in another body. And if he doesn't get punished properly in this life, then it will cause him more difficulty in the future. So it works like that in anything. If we try to do things without conferring with the Lord or understanding the Lord's plan, then it will be defective.
Jai, all glories to A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It's time for the Sankirtan Festival. All glories to Shri Shri Gaurnitai.
We'll read these scores from this week of January 22nd for the pleasure of their lordships, Sri Sri Gaurnitai, Lord Nrsimhadev, Tulsi Maharani, the Sampradaya Acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, His Holiness Dhanavir Goswami, and all the assembled devotees. This week we had 2 book distributors. So in second position with 1 small book and 1 big book, Radhastali Devi Dasi. Haribo! For a total of 1.25 book points. And in first position with 8 small books, 5 medium books, 4 big books, and 5 Maha big books for a total of 17.5. Rishi Kumar Das. Hare Krishna. So the temple total, the RVC total for this week is 9 small books, 5 medium books, 5 big books, 5 Maha big books, for a total of 18.75 book points. So this is a nice highlight. Me and Valmiki Prabhu went to the we went to the Raytown Walmart, and people were giving me some funny looks, and I usually don't have tilak on at the Walmart in Kansas City because I don't know, it seems like if there's too many questions for people to ask, they seem to get easily confused by things that aren't familiar here. So I had tilak on and I didn't remember it, and everyone was kind of looking at me really funny. And I was going to go wash it off, and I walked by this guy, and he, something about him just really stood out. And I went in the bathroom, I washed it off, and then I went back out, and I was distributing some books in the aisles, and I saw Valmiki was now talking to this guy. His name was Brandon. And Valmiki called me over to help with the transaction on the phone. And it was really nice. We got to speak with him for a while, and he asked me about the tilak. He said, "When I saw you earlier, and you had something on your face. What was that?" And I explained to him what tilak was, and he asked a lot of nice questions that Valmiki was answering. And then he came here just yesterday. So he was a really nice guy, Brandon. And hopefully we'll see him some more. But Valmiki Prabhu is the one who gave him books. I guess one highlight for me distributing books was Vivekanand Prabhu and his family. They got a Bhagavatam set some months back, and then they just came here yesterday. And he wanted the Ishopanishad. He was really interested in it, so I gave him that. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. I didn't distribute any books. Margie, Mataji, she grabbed those books on her own, and so all glories to Dhanavir Maharaj. Ki Jai.